Hi, I'm Sean.
And Jen.
And this is our bus. So this is our living area. We've got 2 couches, as you can see. And what's a little special about these are residential couches, sofas, whatever you want to call them. And what I did with these is normal ones are about, I want to say, 32 to 36 inches deep. And I cut the backs open and I shrunk it to now it's about 28 inches deep. And I also cut the bottoms off, so then we have storage under all of it. Because otherwise you end up with about a foot wide walkway if you use normal residential furniture. And trying to build our own furniture was not comfortable because I'm not very good at building my own furniture. And this way 90% of the work was done. The upholstery, the foam. Actually, I couldn't even build them for as cheap as I readapted these ones. I think I paid $300 for the pair. They're all real leather. What got us initially into bus life was the idea of us wanting to spend more time with our family. Our kids were getting older, and we just felt like we were going to blink and our kids were going to be moving out. And we wanted to spend time with them and make memories with them and see this country. And so the question was, how do we do that? Well, before then, we just had a pop-up camper, and that was a great step. It got us off the ground.
Yep.
We weren't sleeping on the ground in a tent anymore, but we needed something bigger if we were going to do that. And as a bigger family of 6, traveling 4 or 5 hours at a time, all cramped in an SUV, pulling a trailer wouldn't have been all that enjoyable. And we wanted this to be enjoyable for our kids. So that led us to, okay, the next step is an RV. Okay. RVs are typically designed for a retired couple. So it's just a main bedroom in the back and a living space, and you make it work with the kids. They have to create their sleeping space, tear down their sleeping space. And to add to it, we saw what happens to them if they get wrecked. We saw a couple of wrecks on the side of the road on our travels in the years prior, and it just didn't look like that was the safest way or the best way maybe to travel with our family long term. And then I think I got to watching a couple of people on YouTube. And I also paid attention to entertainer coaches and how they were set up with the bunk beds and then the living area up here. And so I kind of call what we ended up making almost like an entertainer RV hybrid. One of the things I want to talk about real quick is our LED lighting. This is our second go around at these puck lights. The first ones we did were, of course, the cheapest option on Amazon, which may be a recurring theme, is to not go with the cheapest thing you can find. Those lights ended up getting so hot that they burned out. These ones, however, they're a little bit more expensive, also on Amazon, but have held up much better. But even still, they get very warm. To the touch, they're about 90 degrees. If I could do it over again, I don't know if I'd still use them or not. But it's something I keep in mind when we're trying to keep it cool in here, is that we turn the lights off. A lot of times I think of LED lights as not producing a lot of heat. They're extremely efficient, and they are, but they still kind of act as little heaters. You can definitely tell a difference. Speaking of insulation, we did not do a very good job of insulation. I love a lot of things about our bus, but we were on a timeline when we built it. Our kids were getting older, and we've got one of them back there now, and we felt like we had to get it done quickly to serve its purpose of making memories and in seeing this country as quickly as we could without cutting too many corners. But that's definitely one corner we cut that I wish I would have really taken the time, spray foamed all the insulation. Instead, what we ended up doing was furring out some of it. We furred it out with a 2x3 and then 3/8 inch plywood on top of that, and just did a second layer of insulation. So we lost an additional 3 inches of living space from that as well, which wasn't great. But then the other thing that was important to me was keeping as much headroom as possible and still having ventilation or ducted air conditioning. So that's what these are. These are actually the air conditioning ducts And then a little bit further back is the main electrical wiring for the lights and all that. And that runs the entire length of the coach, so a taller guy like me doesn't hit his head, because this MC9 has a sloped floor. It's, I want to say it's about 78 inches to the ceiling here. It's only 73 back there. And I used to be 72 inches tall. I think I'm shrinking a little bit as I'm getting older though. And then yeah, these are ducted air conditioners, and they go in here and out. And I've played around a lot with trying to make this more efficient. I have in here currently what I'm calling a prototype of basically creating headers, that a whole bunch of little tubes that take the air and they push it both down the length of the bus, because air doesn't like to make 90-degree bends.
Getting into RV life, yeah, I would say we knew we wanted to travel. We first started out in a tent. I knew that was not going to last. The pop-up camper was fun, but it was too small, and getting everything in there that we needed was too hard. I grew up traveling in an RV, so I would have been completely content in an RV, but I think also at the time it came down to cost. We were looking at the price of RVs, and it was not something that we could afford at the moment. And Sean also, by like just his nature, he loves to build things, and he kind of designed things on his own. So when he came to me with the idea of he wanted to gut a bus and build it from the ground up, and oftentimes when he comes to me with those ideas, I'm happy to go along with them. I've seen the work that he can do, and I knew then that we could create something that actually fit our family. And traveling in an RV as a kid, it was fold down the table every night, fold out the couches, and I was interested in something that we could get in, the kids would have their own space. I felt like that would make it more enjoyable for them.
One of the things that turned out really well was these indirect lights. I made these out of just oak, cut those at whatever half of 45 is, or maybe 45 degrees, and just a little piece of LED strip there. And this runs off of the 24 volt system and is connected into the dash indirect light switch. So even if everything else is off, I've got a little bit of control from the driver area for our late night trips, which our family seems to prefer driving late at night. Just everybody likes sleeping on a moving bus. It just kind of rocks you to sleep and lulls you to sleep. Currently, I'm the only one that drives the bus, so I haven't had that experience yet.
So I was excited to see where this journey would take us, although a little bit nervous too. Zero desire to drive the bus because I think it's scary. But yeah, it's been fun. Yeah.
Now we move on to the dinette area, and this has gone through a number of different changes, and I imagine it will continue to change. We do have a family of 6, and you might say this is an awfully small dinette area for a family of 6 to sit at, and you're right. But what we found was, if someone was working in the kitchen area doing something, you need to have room for somebody to scooch by. And we used to have a bigger, normal-sized dinette table that came out to here, and we were just always bumping into each other. It was a real pinch point. Our benches used to come out much further as well, so I've shrunken those down, trying to maximize some of the floor space, just to make moving around a lot easier. And one of the things I added on this last iteration was this little lip around here, which probably seems like common sense, but at the time it took me 3 revisions to finally get to that, and now nothing falls off of this while we're driving, even the leg lamp. Some storage underneath here as well. Some of the there's some parts of this that aren't completely finished, just because it's constantly being reworked and changed, and that's what you're seeing here is the leftover remains of previous iterations of this, and we don't always get a chance to finish things up because, quite frankly, a lot of it continues to change. We have a lot of windows, And initially, when we were doing this build, I thought this is going to be great. There's going to be so many windows. Going to get a panoramic view of the world as we go by. But what we found is we're covering them up more and more to keep the heat out, in part, again, insulation. And so this window entirely, I would definitely want to take out. This actually extends all the way back behind our pantry and our refrigerator and just creates heat. And then we also have a window here behind our kitchen backsplash, and we rarely have that open as well. It would probably make some great spice rack storage. What I would do differently in the next bus build, if I was to do it again, I would bite the bullet and spend more money redoing the floor and insulating better and trying to maximize the horizontal width as best I could. Yeah, spray foam insulation and a mini split. We did 2 RV roof air conditioners, but we have a ton of solar. We have 2,600 watts on the roof, over 2,000 amp hours of lithium batteries, but we still can't run our air conditioners as much as we would like. Sure, we can run one all night or whatever, but the mini splits are just so much more efficient, and they work as a heat pump. That's what I learned recently too. This is our kitchen area, butcher block counter, and we treated it with some food grade sealant. I am kind of a believer in, I like to use my butcher block to actually chop things on, so it does look kind of marred up and messed up, but I feel like that's the purpose of butcher block, so I'm okay with that. It's relatively cheap to replace if it comes to that, and it may at some point. This is our main source of, or this is our oven. It's a convection microwave. We never really saw the point in a real oven. We had talked to a lot of other RVers, including my wife's parents, and they said they really never use their oven. And again, if you're using an oven here, it's going to get hot, and most of the time we're trying to remove the heat out of here, not create more. So even the microwave we use sparingly, but it does have a convection oven. We have made birthday cakes, cupcakes, things like that in there before, and that works out pretty well. And that is wired directly in back here. One of the things we added very recently, and it took us a long time to do it, to get some stuff off the counter, was this little rack here that, again, I made from some repurposed, already stained material. Just cut it up quickly, and Brad nailed it together, and so far it's been holding, so far so good there. We do have under cabinet lighting. Well, it doesn't go on all the way under there, I guess, anymore, but it is here. We do all electric cooking. We don't really have any propane except for our grill outside, so that's electric coffee pot, and of course electric microwave, and sometimes we'll put a electric griddle or induction cooker here. So this is the utility part of our conversion. We have our main DC breaker area where we can turn off lights, and has the built-in DC breakers. That works out pretty well. This is just from a boat, I think available on Amazon. There used to be a nice cover on here, but the cabinets ended up having to get pushed out 3/4 of an inch because reasons, and this hole was already here, and so the cover went and everything else still works. Then we moved back down to the Victron color control display, except this is a little bit unique. There's actually, behind here, there's a Raspberry Pi, and this is a Raspberry Pi touchscreen. I wouldn't really recommend anybody build this today, but at the time this was the only touchscreen device that could run Victron's software. I think I made this in 2018 or so, and it's pretty nice. And I've gotten into solar so much that I've actually started a business. So I started a company called Soda Solar. That's short for Minnesota, SOTA Solar. And you can find more about that there at sodasolar.com or our YouTube channel as well. This is our pantry and fridge area, and built this really with not a lot of forethought, I'll be honest. This is kind of the space that was left over. I knew where the fridge had to be. We started pretty much working from the bathroom and shower backwards. We knew where the bunks had to be, and we had, the fridge was a certain width, and then the dinette had to be somewhere, and the couch had to become somewhere, and then whatever room was left over, that was what our pantry was. It doesn't open up all that great because of our locks are so close here for our refrigerator, but we've got plenty of storage for about everything we need and some more storage underneath. And I also have some storage up top here. And this is all residential electric, everything we need in there. Got this for free, actually, I think, on Craigslist. And I really recommend to anybody, if they're debating on what should they do for a refrigerator, these are extremely cheap, extremely available, and you take that extra money that you would have spent on a propane or dedicated DC fridge maybe, and put that back into your solar. That's the decision we made. We figured AC power can be used for anything, battery power can be used for anything, charge our laptops, charge whatever, versus relying on propane, which can pretty much only be used for cooking. You can't really run a laptop off propane.
I think the best part of the design of this bus is the fact that everybody has their own space. So everyone has a bad day here and there, kids, adults, and with everyone having their own space, during those days or those moments, they have a space that they can retreat to. I mean, in a house, they can go to their room, but in a bus, I needed them to be able to have a space where they could go and relax and recharge if needed, as well as a space for Sean and I if we needed to just take some time and have a break and have a little bit of peace. So I think, to me, that is the best design part of this bus.
And then this brings us to the bunk area, as we have 4 kids, and it was important for us for each of the kids to have their own private space to keep their stuff and just a space that they could call their own. And while we were building this initially, we used dimensional lumber, and it was getting a little tight to get through here, but now my shoulders completely fit, whereas before I actually had to turn sideways to get through here. So that was one of the changes that we made after we had prototyped this early on in the build, and I'm actually really happy with the way a lot of this came out. It's not all perfectly square, but nothing in a bus is square, so you just got to roll with it. And underneath each of these is well, this is extra bedding here, but each kid has their own drawer, and then we have 2 for extra bedding. And I really like actually the way these all came out. This was some of the last cabinets we built actually in the bus, and I definitely got better as we went on. And then in each one of these is a curtain, lights you can turn on and off, and in this one we have our daughter Amelia and the cat, and they have their own shelf, power, USB power, pretty much everything they need. I think on one trip, one of my kids even put a PlayStation and TV in there, and we were okay with that. They also have their own air conditioning vent, so they can control how hot or cold they get. And the second air conditioner back here also contributes to the main ducting system that goes forward and back. And the bottom bunks, as you can see, has a lot of bins and things, and this is filled with solar stuff for the solar business. So being that our other 3 kids aren't with us on this trip, we're using that space for that. Been plenty of times, it's been a rainy day, and we're not stepping all over each other. I mean, not to say it's the same as in a sticks and bricks house, but we can all find our own space and be pretty comfortable. And when you're traveling for a long time together, you definitely need your own space once in a while. So one of the changes we made to these bunks is they used to all be the same height as this back section was all the way across. But typically my older boys stay up here, and they're bigger, about an adult sized. And so I actually, when I was building these, I tested these and tried to side sleep on it, and my hip was hitting right here, and I couldn't really side sleep on the top bunk. So I redesigned this bunk to have this shorter top shelf, which you can just keep a couple of things in. And then we added there's a back part of the shelf where you you get some of that added storage back. But it's all about adapting things and making it work and continually refining it. So now we get to the walk-through bathroom area. It was important to us that as a larger family of 6, that someone could use the bathroom and still get from the main bedroom through to the bunk area. So to accommodate that, we ended up doing sliding doors, sliding pocket doors that I tried to engineer myself. However, they've not held up all that well. Actually, this door I need to do some fixing on, but in theory they work pretty well. We also have a sliding pocket door here that does still work, but it got about 10% of the use as this one does. This one gets used all the time. So to shower, you can close off this side and then can leave the bathroom open, or anyway, you can configure this space a number of different ways, and we tried to use pocket doors to do it to varying degrees of success. And on this note, on the bathroom, the back wheels, or that last bay in the MC9 comes right about here. I'm about a quarter inch more forward. I don't think I would have been able to get the black tank or the toilet to dump right into the black tank. So I tried to plan it out, but it did slip my mind for a while, and I was pleasantly pleased that I was able to make that work. But for the bathroom sink, to make that work, I did have to run the drain and water lines up above the floor line and over, because by the time we're here, we are right over the back wheels, which also made the shower a challenge. And to do that, we actually built a little shelf off of the wall, and it's all tile, and ran the water supply lines up through there as well. And the drain lands in that bottom bay, so that worked out okay. The tile, as you can see, is a tiled shower. It did hold up pretty well. It's been installed now, I want to say, since 2018, 2019. No cracks really, and it's been great. Other than, I think we do need to still wash off some of the grout, but it's not perfect. Brings us to the last area of the bus, the master bedroom, or main bedroom. And we really like this space. We have a queen size bed, normal mattress. It was a challenge to get in here, but it works pretty good. It's on a floating bed frame. So this is just made out of oak. Oh, it looks like this came up a little bit. Solid oak, and then I rounded off this corner, or cut off this corner, and there's a metal bracket on the inside corner of each of these to support it. And then it goes all the way back to our closet. So this entire section is floating, and we use this for storage, or if you've seen our large St. Bernard dog, she will sleep under there as well. We also have a cat litter box under there that we have to pull out, and it's probably due for that cleaning. Then we have room for, other things. The dirty clothes, which initially was an afterthought. Experienced bus builders will definitely, you'll want to think about where your dirty clothes go, not just your clean clothes, for sure. But overall, we love all the cabinet space up here, the storage. This back cabinet here, it looks like we need to fix that. Bouncing down the road, things do come loose. But I really love this one. It was a pain in the butt to build, but we definitely use all the storage space in here. And yeah, our clean clothes are in here. I don't know that I necessarily do that same design again. This was kind of almost an afterthought, probably because the first one I've ever done. It was the empty space that was available, and we had to make that work for some closet storage. The other thing I want to make note of is we do have full access to both engine hatches. We have had to get access to that before. We actually dropped a alternator down through here. Yeah, and then we rolled it out. We didn't take the old one out, but we did drop the new one in. And I've had to do other kind of diagnostic stuff through those engine hatches, and those are really important to keep accessible. One of the other things I wanted to share, which I thought was really important and a little bit unique about this bus build, is the wall and ceiling coverings. They're automotive or marine grade vinyl. We can buy those at most textile shops that do that sort of work, and it was actually relatively inexpensive. But what's been really nice about it is it's a covering that we can stretch over different surfaces, and it looks good. And then most importantly, we can take it off when we need to. I can pull these panels off, and it's just stapled on there. I can pop off some of those staples, get at whatever I need to get at, and then put it back up, and it looks just the same. I don't have to refinish anything, repaint anything like that. So, and I feel like it looks pretty good too. The other thing I want to mention was how we run all of our electrical. It's all behind these cabinets. Each of these cabinets can come down. Sometimes they're built in different groups, like this entire group of 3. These 3 is all one group, so that's probably about our longest cabinet that we have. Most of them are in groups of 2, and it's just a handful of screws to pull out, and then we can get access to all the wiring front and back. That makes adding new lights or fans much easier. We did add these vent fans here later on in the process. Initially, I didn't think we would need roof vents. Turns out they're really important. I thought we'd just get by on air conditioners, I guess. I don't know. That's what you get when you go from a pop-up camper to a bus conversion. That's what we did on our journey. This is the driver area. Pretty stock MCI driver area. All the stock gauges are there. They're a little bit dusty. They're hard to keep clean with going down the road in a leaky bus as far as air is concerned, and a St. Bernard dog that's shedding all the time. But I have a backup camera that I ran with, I ran that back with just RCA cable. I had, at the time, wireless backup cameras were not known to be reliable over 40 feet, so that may have changed now. The signal quality on this is not the best, but it's good enough for us. I'm using a tire pressure monitor system, which is very important. Otherwise, I was checking tire pressures every day, going all the way around. And I did have some tires that were going down from time to time. And now, for the most part, I've taken care of that. I can see if I've got a leaky tire and I've had to fix a valve stem, things like that. It's usually what it ends up being for me. But that system's been invaluable. Love it. Use a GPS here all the time with a, this is a Garmin something or other, but it has a built-in dash cam. And one of the things I really like about it is it has lane departure detection, forward collision detection, and traffic is moving detection, which is a little annoying sometimes. If you're at a stoplight, it beeps at you and says traffic's now moving. But actually, I really like the lane detection, lane departure detection, things like that. Just helps me drive even safer than I feel like I already do. But safety in a vehicle this big is so important. Well, the other thing it does is school zone warnings and speed changes. It lets me know, gives me a good half mile, quarter mile before those come up. So with a little audible ding. I didn't know it had all those features, but I love it so far. And then a little mount for the phone, a little USB fan to keep myself cool. I know there's better ones. I had a 12-volt fan for a while mounted up there, but something broke on it, and this was a quick fix, and it's been working so far. It's definitely, there's a lot of things in this bus which were temporary fixes, temporary solutions that have turned into permanent solutions, and sometimes that can be good or bad. This is one of those which I would say is at least indifferent. I got some USB ports here for plugging whatever I need into, and I think I've got a couple over on the other side to power the TPMS and the backup camera.
Thing I would change, I guess I don't do a whole lot with the design and the build, but I would love a passenger front seat with a footrest, so it's a little more comfortable. And also I think if we could change out just the windows so that we could open them and be a little bit more comfortable. I think we could run our air less if we could open the windows.
I got the original door handle still. Thought about removing it, but I wasn't quite sure exactly actually even how to get this off, so if somebody knows, let me know. In the end, it works good enough, so we just leave it. Dash heat still works. Air conditioning is long gone, but the over-the-road heating system still works, and that's really great because we do use this for seasons. And then one of our most recent changes that I've really enjoyed, because I like music while I'm driving, we used to have just a little Bluetooth speaker like this, which is okay, but it doesn't really have the low end that I like to hear and feel the full sound. So I was thinking about upgrading to a car style head unit, but instead it was way cheaper and simpler just to use a Bluetooth soundbar, and it has a really thin subwoofer that's mounted behind the passenger seat and plugs right into the 120 volt, and it's completely wireless. As far as the speaker interconnections go, we can connect to this through Bluetooth, and then it also handles our HDMI for our Apple TV, PlayStation 4, and runs all that to our TV and stuff, which we don't use a whole lot, but I probably use it for music all the time, and it's been great. So here on the outside, as you can see, we've got a lot of under bay storage, and it's kind of a mess, in part because we've got a ton of equipment and materials in here for the solar install business, and believe it or not, most of this is out over somewhere else, but we can load it up with so much, and there's just so much storage here that just comes, there's nothing extra we have to do. This is all stuff that comes from the over-the-road use of the bus. And we did compartmentalize it, or partition it up a little bit for a couple of different uses, chairs, other bins that we can slide in and out. And we found that they can hold about as much weight as we need them to. Like, we've got 100 gallons of fresh water back here, and 100 gallons of waste, 20 gallons hot water, electric hot water heater. There, I said it again. Everyone always heats hot water. It's just a water heater. That's one of the things I love about the coach buses, is the storage and just how creative you can get with it. One of the other things I really like about our bus is our solar. We have 2,600 watts of solar on the roof. That's 8 panels, 325 watts a piece. They're the commercial sized, and so we put them horizontally mounted to a unistrut rack. However, we started with just 6 panels mounted in between the 2 air conditioners up there, but we quickly realized we were going to need even more solar. So based on the unistrut design we had, all we did was just build little standoffs for it and then connect the 2 separate unistrut racks together and put them over the air conditioners, and then added some aerodynamics to it all, and there it is. And so far, we haven't had any fall off. I do go up there and check them regularly. I really don't ever get an extra turn on the bolts or anything, and it's been working out good. If you want to get a hold of us or learn more about what we're doing on this bus, we're on YouTube as the Himmelberger Bus, or for the solar part of things, that's at SOTA Solar, S-O-T-A Solar. That's also on YouTube, online, sotasolar.com, or yeah, all those places.